Hello and welcome back. Yes, this is part one of the build for the Corsair. Now, first off, I decided to pretty much paint everything before I glued it all together. Now, basically, I am just priming everything with a dark grey, just to give me that sort of like contrast between the actual internal colours. First one being, let's say, internal green. This very weird sort of like pinky brown. Yep, which was on the Tamiya one, the 32nd. So I thought, well, let's give it a go, see what we come up with. If it's the right shade, right colour, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's there, and it looks, to me, yeah, it looks pretty good. Well, good enough, anyway. So it was just moving on to doing the other side, and then progressing to do the actual interior cockpit. So with the majority of the airbrushing out of the way, it was time to turn to the hairy stick. Now all it is basically just painting in the instrument panels, this one being the front one, and you do have panels on the left and right of the cockpit. Other bits and pieces, i.e. on the fuselage halves, you do have some detail that needs to be painted black, throttle quadrants, etc, etc. Now, it's not just only black. I did paint around with some silvers and obviously some dry brushing later on in the actual painting stage. Now, I used an aftermarket seat for this build because I didn't have any proper harnesses for it. However, this was part of a True Details pack for the internal cockpit. If I'm honest, the seat was the best bit of the bunch. Everything was a bit, yeah, it was a bit naff. So, dry brushing. Simple case of a dark sea grey on an old brush, get most of it off, and just lightly go around all the raised details, making it pop. So once the dry brushing was over, it was just a case of just going around with some oils. This one was the Abteilung and the sepia, which is really quite dark, and I let it just sort of like thin down to an inch of its life. Got it on a brush and just did like a pen wash all over. Left it to dry, then just took off the bits that I thought were a little bit overdone. With that, all you're using is a, well, I say cleanish brush, moistened with whatever thinners that you have been using, and you can just go around the area of which you want to take off the wash. So there you go, there's the, well, one half of the cockpit done. Now, on to the second bit. Yeah, the decal for the instrument panel weren't great. So what I've done is, I've got a, well, punch and die set, which I've had for years, and I do use, well, occasionally use it. But this idea came up from Nigel, or Nigel Wells from the Crafting Well. Thank you very much for this insight, Nige. And what I did was I individually punched the decals out and placed them within, obviously, the bezel region. Once that was done, it was a simple case of putting over a sort of like a clear gloss of like a nail polish, which I will explain in a moment. So after that, it was a case of just popping everything on, gluing it on, and hoping it stays together. So there you go, almost ready to be glued together. Now, this nail varnish stuff. Now, I've got Rob Bedford from Frontline Model Hobbies to thank for this. Now, what this stuff is, it's like a sort of like a polishing thing for, well, it's a gel for your nails. Not, you know, that us geezers are going to do this to our own nails. Well, you might do, depending on what you fancy. But anyway, what this does is it actually puts a very, very high gloss coat over, let's say, an instrument bezel. And all you would need to do is to get a very small bit of this halo nail varnish thing, gel, with a cocktail stick, preferably clean, and with a little bit of patience and make sure your aim's right, pop the gel in and around the actual decal and where the instrument bezel would be. Now, basically, it is going to remain a gel until you actually put it under some form of UV light. Now, I was thankful, well, I am thankful to Rob's wife as well for giving me this UV light apparatus, as it were. And basically all you do is you pop it under the UV light for literally a minute, and it hardens off to, I would say, granite. It really is tough stuff, and it really isn't going to go anywhere. So it's a simple case of, once it's all into the bezels and you're happy, press the old button, UV light comes on, and you leave it a minute, and hey presto, you've got very, very shiny bezels. So when that's actually in the cockpit, and you know, you're looking around and all the rest of it, or you know, somebody else is having a look, they will notice it almost straight away, because you'll have a darkened sort of like semi sort of like gloss finish to the cockpit, but when you see the bezels, they're like high gloss and they will stand out, and it is really, really good. So with that, it was a case of just putting everything together, gluing it, and yeah, I'm happy with that. Coming to the final stage now is just a simple case of just popping the cockpit in, aligning it up with the placement areas, making sure that it A, fits, and B, you put the other side of the fuselage on to make sure that there isn't any sort of like discrepancies, or you haven't put it in straight, or there's a gap, or there's something you've forgotten to put in or take out even. So it is always fit as many times as you need and glue once. And thankfully, once this was all in, presto, it was a simple case of just tapping the glue in and around where the cockpit meets the fuselage at the front and around the back, and then giving it a good dollop of super glue all the way around the actual mating points or the sides of the fuselage, and then popping them together. So with all the super glue on, it's a simple case of popping it on, giving it a good squeeze so the super glue will seep through where the actual mating points are, and that will give you a solid base, and it will stick very, very nicely. And when you come around to actually doing the seam lines, it does cure that issue that I had. And let me say this, never again will I be doing like this again with Tamiya Extra Thin. Super glue all the way. So thanks for watching. That's the first part, and we'll get to the second one.